സുഹൃത്തുക്കളെ, I will make it a mix of Malayalam and English because there are guests from outside the state also. One correction, I'm no longer the editor of the Telegraph, I'm editor at large. So people ask me what it means. So one is it finally befits my size. It also means nowadays we don't use it in headlines. നമ്മുടെ പഴയ പത്രങ്ങളിലെ ഹെഡ്ലൈൻസിൽ ഇത് ആരെങ്കിലും somebody goes absconding or somebody is wanted for a crime, you call him somebody at large. So and he can be shot also, that kind of. So I don't know, so it's one of these things. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ സംസാരിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് ടോപ്പിക്കുമായിട്ട് ഈ റേജ് എന്നുള്ള ഒരു ടോപ്പിക്, അതിൽ ജസ്റ്റ് ടച്ച് അപ്പ് ഓൺ ഇറ്റ്. പക്ഷേ I would like to invite you to participate with me in a game. I had actually thought the audience will be largely composed of journalists, but I realized that there are a lot of students also. I hope you are able to relate to what I am going to say. Karyam, you must, if you are unable to relate, then I think it's your failure, it's not my failure. You have to, as a citizen in India now, citizens also have certain responsibilities, and so I hope you will be able to relate to it. Otherwise, you go back and check Google. I'm sure all answers are there. So let's play a game, a word association game. And then I will cite a series of events and situations. You don't have to say it aloud, but please list in your mind an associated event or a vaguely familiar event or an era or a phase that comes to your mind readily. ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് കാര്യങ്ങൾ 10 കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഞാൻ വായിക്കാം. അപ്പം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് ഞാൻ വായിക്കുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ് വാട്ട് ഇവന്റ് കംസ് ടു യുവർ മൈൻഡ് എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ പറയുന്നത് വേണ്ട, നിങ്ങൾ സ്വയം ആലോചിച്ചാൽ മതി. 1. When the new government took over, only 3% of the 4,700 newspapers were controlled by the government or the party associated by the government. അതായത് 4,700 പത്രങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നപ്പോൾ ഒരു പുതിയ സർക്കാർ വന്നപ്പോൾ only 3% I think will be around 141, less than 150 were controlled or were beholden to the government of the day or the party that is in power. In the first weeks of the new government, the regime deployed radio and press to stoke fears of a pending uprising. അതെന്തോ ഒരു ഭയങ്കര സംഭവം, നമ്മളെല്ലാം അപകടത്തിലാണ് എന്നുള്ളൊരു സംഭവം. അത് റേഡിയോ പ്രസ് എന്ന ഇതിൽ വഴി ആ ഒരു ദറ്റ് നാരറ്റീവ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ബീങ് ഫ്ലോട്ടഡ്. അത് ദേ ജസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ഫീഡിങ് ദ നാരറ്റീവ്. One publishing house established a huge empire that drove out competition and purchased media outlet. ഒരു പബ്ലിഷിംഗ് ഹൗസോ ഒരു കമ്പനിയോ, a company that became a publishing house, that became so huge that it started buying up, swallowing other media outlets. Some independent newspapers and non-political weeklies accommodated the regime through self-censorship or dealt with approved topics. അപ്പോൾ പലരും പല മാധ്യമങ്ങളും ഞങ്ങൾ അരാഷ്ട്രീയമാണ്, ന്യൂട്രലാണ്, വി ഡോണ്ട് ഹാവ് പൊളിറ്റിക്സ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് അവർ അപ്രൂവ്ഡ് ടോപ്പിക്സിൽ മാത്രം കോൺസെൻട്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ തുടങ്ങി. Number 5, journalists were replaced with ill-trained amateurs in leadership positions, and some veteran journalists collaborated with the regime in order to maintain or enhance their careers. അതെല്ലായിടത്തും സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്, ജേർണലിസ്റ്റിന് മാത്രമുള്ള ഒരു പ്രശ്നമല്ല. Then journalists from a particular religion and their spouses were sidelined or replaced. Reports in news and opinion pages were controlled through directives transmitted daily through the party apparatus. This I'm sure you will be able to relate. I have to say that in not too long ago, a very senior person in this country, he used to call one of the most powerful newspapers in this country and tell him what should be the page 1 news items, and he used to be called as a bureau chief. So again, I'm reading that point. It's a very important. Reports in news and opinion pages were controlled through directives transmitted daily through the party apparatus. Detailed guidelines stated which reports could or could not be reported and how to report the news. Number 8, editors who failed to follow these instructions could be fired, or if believed to be acting with intent to harm the country, imprisoned. ഒന്നിൽ ജോലിയിൽ നിന്ന് പുറത്താക്കപ്പെടുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആന്റി നാഷണൽ എന്ന് മറ്റു കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞ് they could be imprisoned. News is not fully, this is also a very, very important thing. Number 9, news is not fully suppressed. അതായത് കാര്യം അവർ ചോദിക്കും, we are not suppressing news, you are free to report whatever you want. News is not suppressed, but its flow and interpretation are tightly controlled so that access is denied to alternative sources of news. Shortages, material shortages, foreign exchange shortages ensured that the pages of newspapers were drastically reduced. Now, number 10, the last point. In a little over 10 years, within 10 വർഷത്തിന് ശേഷം, Out of the original, ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ 4,700 newspapers, only 1,100 remained. While the circulation of these was around 40.4 lakh, the circulation of the 325 newspapers associated with the ruling party was an astounding 2.1 crore. അതായത് 4,700 പത്രങ്ങളുള്ളതിൽ 1,100 മാത്രമേ റിമൈനിങ് ഉള്ളൂ. Out of which 325, ഈ 1,100 circulation എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ that was around 4.4 lakh. പക്ഷേ the circulation of the 325 newspaper that were closely associated with the regime or the government was an astounding 2.1 crore. One pro-government editor became the most successful by publishing stories of ritual murder to malign one community, alleged sex crimes and financial scams. ഒരു journalist, he became so prominent by focus on this model, by publishing stories of ritual murder to malign one community, alleged sex crimes and financial scam. Then a former journalist then wrote in his diary, any person who still has a residue of honor will be very careful not to become a journalist. A former journalist then wrote in his diary, any person who still has a residue of honor will be very careful not to become a journalist. അതായത് അഭിമാനത്തിൻ്റെയോ ഓണസ്റ്റിയുടെ ഒരു കണിക പോലും ഉള്ള ഒരു മനുഷ്യൻ ഒരിക്കലും ഒരു വ്യക്തി ഒരിക്കലും ഒരു ജേർണലിസ്റ്റ് ആവാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കില്ല എന്ന് ഒരാൾ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഡയറിയിൽ എഴുതി. This is not a game. I apologize to you for using such a term at the beginning of my conversation with you. This is not about contemporary India either. If any of you made the mistake thinking that I was talking about India, you are wrong. All the 10 points I listed above, crushing dissent, manipulating the narrative, stalking fears of raging conspiracies, intimidating journalists, and buying up and taming questioning media outlets, all are instances that took place between 1933 and 1944, that is 90 to 80 years ago in Germany. I do not have to tell you which regime ran Germany in that decade. So I don't know how many of you has made any association at all with the current, what is happening in India, but what I read about that, all the 10 points, it was documented points, this happened in Germany between 1933 and 1944. And one more question, any guesses on the identity of the former journalist who wrote in his diary that any person who still has a residue of honor will be careful not to become a journalist? അതായത് അഭിമാനത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു കണിക പോലെങ്കിലും ഉള്ളിലുള്ള ഒരു മനുഷ്യൻ, ഒരു വ്യക്തി ഇപ്പോൾ ജേർണലിസ്റ്റ് ആവില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ആരാണ് അത് എഴുതിയത്? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ഗസ് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കുകയാണ്. You are right if you identified him as Joseph Goebbels, the most notorious propagandist in history and the chief propagandist of Adolf Hitler. Goebbels was particularly adept at using the radio and film for propaganda. If some contemporary images are coming alive in your mind, they must of course be purely coincidental. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ ഗീബൽസ് പോലെ, the man who is responsible for this is absolutely sure of what he has done to journalists, and he himself started pitying journalists. How can somebody become a journalist? He himself is doing it, and he started asking these questions. The striking and terrifying parallels do not end there. Almost all of us can recall the mango tasting habits of a national leader. അത് മാങ്ങ കഴിക്കാൻ, മാമ്പഴം കഴിക്കാനുള്ള നമ്മുടെ ഒരു നാഷണൽ ലീഡറിന്റെ ഒരു പ്രത്യേകത യു മസ്റ്റ് ബി ഇൻ 2019 ഇറ്റ് ഹാപ്പൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ബിഫോർ ദി ഇലക്ഷൻ. അത് ചെയ്തത്, ആ ഇന്റർവ്യൂ ചെയ്ത ഒരു ആക്ടറാണ് ഹു ഇസ് നൗ എ ഫോമർ കനേഡിയൻ പൗരൻ. അപ്പോൾ കോയിൻസിഡന്റലി കാനഡയായിട്ട് പ്രശ്നം ഉണ്ടാകുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് ജസ്റ്റ് ബിഫോർ ദാറ്റ് സഡൻലി ഹി ഡിസൈഡ് ടു ബിക്കം എ നോൺ കനേഡിയൻ. So we ridicule that actor for asking the question of whether the interviewee liked mangoes. അതായത് ഇന്റർവ്യൂ ചെയ്ത മനുഷ്യൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് അദ്ദേഹം, നിങ്ങൾ മാമ്പഴം എങ്ങനെയാണ് കഴിക്കുന്നത്, കൈക്കൂടെ ഒലിപ്പിച്ചാണോ മുറിച്ചാണോ കടിച്ചാണോ എന്നുള്ള ചോദ്യവും അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ മറുപടി. അപ്പം നമ്മൾ വി ഓൾ ട്രോൾഡ് ഹിം, I think the vicious trolling was unfair. The actor did not invent such a line of questioning. അത് ആ ആക്ടറിൻ്റെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു കോൺട്രിബ്യൂഷൻ ആയിരുന്നില്ല. On August 20, 1939, it was reported that Hitler had a tomato garden and a fondness for chocolate. He was a man who can eat a gooseberry pie or a well-done pudding with relish. അതായത് in August 20, 1939, it was reported that Hitler had a tomato garden and a fondness for chocolate. അത് ഇവിടെ മാമ്പഴമാണെങ്കിൽ അവിടെ ടൊമാറ്റോ. He was a man who can eat a gooseberry pie or a well-done pudding with relish. Please note the date again, August 20, 1939. That is 12 days before Germany invaded Poland and started the Second World War. So the publication which published this, it cannot claim that we did not know who this monster was. It was just 12 days before the start of Second World War, this was reported. That about how he likes chocolate and other things. And also 6 years, and this when it was reported, this August 20, 1939 was also 6 years after the first big concentration camp was opened at Dachau. It was one of the first and longest running Nazi concentration camps and served as a model for all later concentration camps and as a school of violence for years to come. As a school of violence in the model at Dachau camp. In the 12 years of its existence, 4,500 people were murdered in the camp. Why I am saying this is, you remember the date, that is this August 20, 1939. By no stretch of imagination, nobody knew about what Hitler was, what was happening in Germany. Yet somebody thought it fit to carry a news item, what I read about the tomato garden. And which newspaper did in 1939 what our actor did 80 years later? നമ്മുടെ ആക്ടർ 80 വർഷത്തിന് ശേഷം 2019 ചെയ്തത്, which newspaper did so in 1939? Believe it or not, it was the New York Times magazine. The magazine referred to Hitler's love of the pie and the pudding and the chocolate and the tomato in an article on the day-to-day life at Hitler's mountain chalet. I have taken this example from the archives of the University at Buffalo, from an article on a book titled Hitler at Home, authored by Despina Stratigakos. Commenting on the reporting then, Despina said, it was dangerous because it made Hitler likable. The article was dangerous because it made Hitler likable. After reading these stories, people would feel like they knew the true Hitler, the private man behind the Führer's mask, and that maybe, this person was not as bad as all the news coming out of Europe seemed to just suggest. So this is what the New York Times magazine did, perhaps unwittingly, but they ended up making a monster looking like a personable, likable, like just a person like next door. How could the Times do this? How could the New York Times do it? I still consider it the best newspaper in the world, but how could they have done it? One answer could be, now I'm quoting Daniel Schneiderman, who wrote the book called Berlin 1933. He wrote this in New Yorker. One reason could be the Times' quest for credibility with its readers. They didn't want to seem like a Jewish newspaper. The New York Times is owned by a Jewish family. So perhaps they didn't want to be seen as that, since we are a Jewish family, we take particular concern of the community. Perhaps they wanted to appear neutral. Perhaps that prevented it from attaining the decibel level that we would now consider appropriate. അതായത് ശബ്ദമുണ്ടാക്കുന്നതിന് പകരം വളരെ ശബ്ദമുണ്ടാക്കിയില്ല എന്ന് മാത്രമല്ല, നേരെ തിരിച്ച് വളരെ ശാന്തമായ ഒരു മനുഷ്യൻ്റെ ഒരു പോർട്രയലാണ് ടൈംസ് ചെയ്തത്. അപ്പോൾ സ്നേഡർമാൻ അവസാനം he is concluding his article by saying this. This is a very important paragraph. Please listen very carefully. Everything reasonable, scrupulous and balanced contributed to lulling the crowd to sleep. നേരത്തെ ശ്രേയം സാറ് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ നമ്മൾ പലപ്പോഴും ബാലൻസ്ഡ്, ന്യൂട്രൽ, ഫെയർ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞ് ദീസ് ആർ ദ ടാക്ടിക്സ് പലപ്പോഴും ഭരണകൂടത്തിലുള്ള ഉപയോഗിച്ചത് ടു ലൾ not only the newspaper, lull the readers also into sleep. Everything reasonable, scrupulous and balanced contributed to lulling the crowd to sleep. അദ്ദേഹം തുടരുകയാണ്. We can't accuse the New York Times of having avoided raw facts. New York Times, we can never accuse it of avoiding facts. It's actually, all its stories are packed with facts, facts, statistics. It's always, even today, they're packed with facts, and usually very reliable facts. We can't accuse the New York Times of having avoided raw facts, except that raw facts don't suffice. They never suffice. In order for a piece of news to touch conscience and hearts, there must be emotion running through it. This is an important lesson for journalists. It's not enough that you say that I have reported it. That's not good enough. You need to find a way. You need to find a device that you have to touch the hearts of people. Otherwise, there is no journalism. You are being a mechanical, just doing a clerical work. So this is a very important message. Having said that, I must point out that the situation has changed somewhat now. Too much opinion and too much emotion are now swamping our new source of information, especially social media and television. അതായത് നമ്മളിപ്പം അന്ന് ആ 1939 if you can accuse New York Times of just reporting raw facts with an emotion, ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ there are too much emotion going around. Wherever you open, people are shouting at each other at television shows, social media, നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞു ഫോണിൽ കൂടെ തെറി വിളിക്കുക, that is become, ഇപ്പോൾ I think there's a new form of journalism in Kerala where editors start quarreling with each other also. That is also, I believe it's a successful model. But what it does is, it affects the credibility of journalism. In each situation, the facts have now become rarer and hence more crucial than ever. I think the challenge before us now is to find the right mix that can amplify facts as well as the not so apparent or hidden implications. There should be a right mix of, just emotion will not work unless it is backed by facts. No no journalism can, you can scream any kind of headline, but if it's not backed by facts, it will not work. Now I'm entering so till now, see, all of you were comfortable because I was talking about Germany. Now I'm coming closer home. I'm sure after this, so I'm requesting if anyone of any difference of opinion, please don't hesitate to interrupt me immediately and challenge me and say your version, because the country in which you live, if you sit silently, there can be legal action against you. So if I say something and you feel that it's not correct, or you feel that you have a disagreement with it, don't wait to it to be end. I don't know whether it's a question session or not. Just raise your hand, stand up, make your comments. I'll cut down my speech to ensure that you get time to speak. This is very important. Let us spare a moment for the crackdown on NewsClick and the 2 arrests. Let the law take its course and let the investigation continue. But I doubt if we really understood the implications of the crackdown. For me, the single most important takeaway was the seizure of the phones of so many people, a savage invasion of privacy on such a mass scale that I could not recall any comparative crackdown in recent memory, or even I searched, but I could not find it anywhere in the world where 46 devices of 46 people, multiple devices, laptops, phones, they just took it away. I'm not saying NewsClick is, because it's a matter sub judice. I cannot say NewsClick is innocent or the government is wrong. Possibly the laws may have been violated, but whatever I know as of now, I don't think NewsClick has violated whatever I know. But the thing is, as the case progresses, the government agencies will come up with what they call new evidence. So I could be wrong. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the fact that devices of 46 people were seized. See, the devices, we tend to look at it as mechanical pieces. They are not mechanical pieces. They are actually an extension of our flesh and blood. If you take this away from me, you are taking away probably 20, 25, I've been using this for 10, I don't know, maybe 8 years. So 8 years of my life, everything is here. Things that my wife don't know, my children don't know, things that even I will not remember. If they put me in a lockup and beat me up and squeeze things out of me, I may not be able to tell them what this phone can say. So this is more sacred than, I don't know, probably my conversation with God and my conversation with the phone is almost similar, because I confide with it my deepest secrets, everything is here. And 46 people in a country, and it was not the night of long names, it was a night of daylight. It's a day of long names. It happened during the day. They just came and took them away. And then we realized, the media, the mother of democracy, the activists, everybody realized that there are no norms in this country. There are norms, but half the people, I don't know any about norms. It also shows how imperfect our own vigilance system is, our vigilance. We didn't know, because such an important, probably the most important piece in our home, in our life is this, or definitely, I can't think of anything else. It's not gold, it's not our car, it's not our house. It is this device. And somebody can just come and just take it away, and nothing happens in this country. Nothing happened after that. Then we realized that 2021, the case is pending in Supreme Court to ask him for the guidelines. The next day, the journalist wrote to the Chief Justice India. I hope there will be rapid action on that. But the point I'm making is, I don't think that this seriousness was reflected, or at least we were aware of this when that happened. So that is fine. See, often what happens is, when things happen, the impact need not be readily apparent. Especially in breaking, when news break, we don't know, and especially when government agencies are involved, when information itself is very opaque. See, 2 days later, it turned out the FIR was already there from 17th. First, we thought that there's no FIR, then how could they? But the FIR was already there when several days earlier the FIR was there. So, but when things become apparent, I was hoping that at least the next day, there will be adequate attention on this. But again, I was disappointed. What I'm asking to is, like I said, I could not find a parallel in recent memory where such a thing has happened. But I know I'm making a controversial statement. I had a conversation with Shreyan Kumar sir yesterday also, because he said that their coverage was justified. I do accept that also. I'm not, see, I can never enter another newsroom and question them or try to do the editing for another newsroom and criticize them. It's unfair completely, because I don't know what went to the mind of the news editor that night. And often I also feel that managements and owners are unfairly blamed when the coverage we think is not adequate. Often it happens in the newsroom only, because journalists, we are human beings. We make mistakes. We react to situations. Sometimes it's not correct. But one good thing about journalism now is, even if you make a mistake, there is always a second chance. It was not there earlier, because 20 years ago or 30 years ago when I joined the profession, we were obsessed with something called sport news. Sport news is something if you have to report in a newspaper on a front page, it has to happen that day. It has to happen within 24 hours. But we have broken out of that now. Even if something that we discover that something that happened 10 years ago, there's a new angle. Now journalists are free and journalists do play up these issues. So what I'm saying is, first day, okay, it's a mistake, we did not realize the importance. Second day, it was very evident. But I did not, I'm not saying that it was not covered. What I'm saying that, just think, now I'm giving you another test. Just think, which newspaper do you remember? Do you remember any newspaper that gave you the impression something exceptionally unusual has happened that day? Can you think of any friendly newspaper? Can you think of a headline that told you that? I'm not talking about a headline. There were good headlines, I do admit that. But I'm saying the treatment, the display. I do remember a very good page, but unfortunately I can't remember the master. Even though I'm a journalist, I watch this closely. I cannot remember the paper, because almost all papers look alike these days. I remember the newspaper with a very, very, very large headline and everything. But right on top of that story was how well we are doing in Asia. You know? That immediately destroys the gravity of the situation. You put a positive story with a positive spin on top, and next below the whole you do whatever you do. It dilutes the importance of what happened that day. So so obviously, opinion will also debate on this issue. That's why I said I am entering controversial, because there can never be. These are all subjective matters. There can never be agreement on this. I'm sure during the course of the day, journalists of Mathrubhumi will come and justify or defend what they did is right. I hope they do that. They should do that. But the thing is that I cannot remember clearly any newspaper. I'm not talking about Malayalam newspapers, English newspapers. I can't readily recall anything that would have told a lay person that such an important thing has happened, such a thing has happened. And you look at today's Israel war coverage. That's also another complaint. Look at when Uman Chandi died, the coverage Malayalam newspapers gave. So the craft is there, the talent is there, the resource is there. Enviable talent. I often look at Malayalam newspapers, especially I always look at Malayalam newspapers for the great headlines they give, the great treatment of the news, the unusual and dramatic layouts they do. But almost all these are reserved for what I call safe issues. You know, Israel, okay, do this. Uman Chandi's death, do this, because there's no price to pay. When it comes to arrest of somebody, when it comes to seizure of 46, it's not actually 46, it's seizure of devices of 46 people. I don't know how many they've seized. It could be far more than 46. So then, you know, we have to ask, as readers, as observers, journalism students, as journalists, we have to ask questions. What is happening? So one answer is, we are afraid. I am afraid. If anybody in this room says that I belong to a newsroom that is not afraid, then they are not doing journalism. They are doing what I said. They are doing tomato stories. They are doing chocolate stories. They are doing mango stories. Otherwise, if you do actual journalism, you'll be afraid. Raw fear, you know, it will grip you. I will briefly show you 2 or 3 pages from my newspaper, because like I told you, see, this is not that I'm going to promote. Anyway, we don't print from here, and I don't think we have any our copies doesn't come. I work around 3,000 kilometers away. But I can speak only about the paper I work for, because I know what happened there. I know. That's what I said. I will never criticize another newspaper, because I don't know what happened inside the newsroom. It's a very private space. A very private space dealing with a very public issue. So it's very unfair for us to sit on judgment. We don't know what happened that particular night in a particular newsroom. So if you bear with me, I will just there is time. I will just I will just click here. Yeah, See, this is one page that was, this happened when a new parliament building was opened. So, as you know, there are several sadhus and sannyasis and that Shangol and all that was this thing. So, this was the headline we gave. I think it happened sometime in May. So, I think it was fairly, it was noticed also, some people, obviously there will be always 2 to 3, multiple opinion members. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is that in May 28 we could do this, but in the same new parliament, when a person, when a BJP MP abused, in the most reprehensible manner, he abused Danish Ali, the BSP MP. We wanted to comment on this through our, like I said, I'm a very biased journalist. I don't believe in this neutrality. I think in extraordinary times, neutrality is a crime. I am not a neutral journalist. I've never been, and particularly now, I am very, very proud to say that I am not a neutral journalist. So the newspaper that did this, a few weeks later, I'll tell you what we wanted to say actually. See that we decided to play on shame goal. That is not the thing. See the second, I don't know whether you can read it. The explanation line was no Shangol, no poem, no symbolism can hide the ugly mindset. It is what I'm telling you. This is how the page took shape. This was around 6 o'clock or 6:30 or something. See, now I'm going to talk about the fear that grips newsrooms. So I was very, very courageous, so to say, or my newsroom was very courageous. As the night progressed, somebody asked me, are you not trying to hurt the sentiments of Hindus? And I said, why? He said, then the Shangol is a symbol of some South Indian kingdom or something. Till then, my impression was Shangol was an import from Europe. It is a symbol of repression. It's obviously there was no democracy. It's a kings, the symbol with which they used to oppress people, and it was a symbol of repression. That is my impression. That is why I'll go back. That is why we could give this headline, But when this happened, then when this was pointed out, I also started, okay, that section 150, the IPC, so I said, okay, why get into all this trouble? So what we did was, there's no change, only that first word, you see the Shangol is no longer there. We are saying now Skepta. That Shangol, quietly we removed it. Then again, it was coming close to, we had to release our first edition by 10:30. And close to 10:25, another editor asked me, are you sure? So I said, why? I already removed Shangol. Then he asked me, how do you justify the shame goal then? So don't try to fool people. Don't try to be smart alike. I agree with that. You can never be a smart ass, You can't do that. So don't do that. If you use shame goal, then you have to explain. You can't do with this kind of. So I said, okay, that's right. So then by then I remember it was 10:25, just 5 minutes to think. I have to do something because otherwise I have to rethink the whole thing. This is not easy. It will take time, and we are working from home. Our resources are very limited, very few people, and we have only one designer. So in 5 minutes, nothing can be done. Then you have to. That is when compromises begin. That is when the fear actually starts gripping you. Then eventually, this is our final page. We kept shame goal, but what we did was it was a dishonest compromise. We made the symbol of justice and good governance was twisted out of shape in the August House. We will not get into trouble with this. I was absolutely sure, and we did not get it. But the thing is that it was a dishonest compromise. I will go back again. We called it to 2023 BC. Why did we call it? Because of all this, I don't know what to call this, all those atrocities, what nothing else can be called. But within a few weeks, there was so much of fear in our newsroom. I had to say what earlier we had said that something that belongs to before Christ. We are saying now that it's become, because this is the narrative that was given to us. You remember when the Shangol was taken, this was the narrative they gave to us, that it was a symbol of justice and good governance. And that is why it was. So unwittingly, I also became a party to it. My newsroom also became a party to it. It's a compromise. See, these stories I'm telling, now I'm going around and telling, at least in Kerala people listen, nobody knows about these stories. The thing is that, it proves to you how afraid a newsroom is. Even people keep telling me, Telegraph, the newsroom is very courageous. We are not courageous. We are very, very scared. So this is one option. Another thing, I will also tell you, people keep asking me that you are unnecessarily exaggerating these things. what has happened. Even emergency, these things used to happen. Before that also, Bengal, it used to happen. Kerala, these things happen. But there is a fundamental difference. In 2015, 1 year after Narendra Modi came to power, the first scandal to hit this government was about Lilith Modi, how Lilith Modi, the IPL person, how he got the endorsement to stay in UK. So initially there was allegation that Sushma Swaraj, she was a foreign minister, then she was involved. But later it emerged that Vasundhara possibly is Vasundhara Raja Sindhya. Even today, it's because this government don't investigate charges against ED and others have no time for these things. No? They have time for Karvanur, not for. So what happened is there was a strong allegation. It is actually Vasundhara Raja Sindhya who actually endorsed this. Who sent a letter to the UK, I think, council or something like that. And a letter also, I still don't know whether it's authentic or not, the letter also emerged. None of this was exclusive, it was all coming out in public domain, and I know who was leaking all these things, but I can't say I don't have proof. But the person, we know since the source of the leak, we were more or less sure of that it's correct. So Vasundhara's signature was there, and that was also the time. Till then, the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister, who was earlier the Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi, used to speak about everything under the sun. Whatever happens, he will immediately, within 5 minutes, he has to tweet, he has to say, his social media, they will be active. But on this, suddenly, there was a silence, very uncharacteristic of Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi, who used to relentlessly attack Manmohan Singh for almost everything and for everything. Whatever happened anywhere in the world, it's Manmohan Singh. Nehru was not the villain then, it was Manmohan Singh. Nehru became the villain after he became the Prime Minister. Then he was silent, and suddenly that was the first time silence became weaponized in India. You know, silence as a proper tool of it became a tool of political management. It became a tool of crisis management. A Prime Minister who can afford to remain silent, and a media that refused to ask questions. One person did ask questions. I would hope you remember. It was Arnab Goswami. He was very. He asked a lot of questions, but now you know where he has reached. That is also again a very telling statement from 2015, where he have reached now. So at that time, what had happened was, fortunately for us, a week or 2 days earlier was international when this story broke about Vasundhara being possibly. See, I'm choosing my word very carefully because if special branch is here, they will go. Vasundhara is again running for. She will file a case against me, and I don't have the wherewithal to withstand this pressure anymore. Unlike Rana Ayubu, who's far more heroic and courageous than almost anybody in this room. So what had happened is, International Yoga Day was happened, and there was a picture of Narendra Modi doing an asana, which went very well with his silence also. So we did not think twice. I remember that day. It was just a split-second decision, and we did not bother about it at all. And this is what we carried. We took his picture and we said that wake up and smell the sign. See, this one. Why I'm saying this has happened in 2015. See, there's absolutely no doubt who we are targeting, what we are saying. There's nothing, and there's no fear at that time. There was concern about people will come and break our office or maybe beat them up or something. That is fine. That is part of the job. But there was no fear. So we put Vasundhara Raja's signature there, and we put this picture. But then, when Manipur happened this year, a crime that was far, far more grave than this is nothing compared with what happened in Manipur and the Prime Minister's silence. This silence was okay, but that silence was not. When it came, we did a page, and it was again reasonably noticed by at least people in Kerala noticed it. But thing is, that also was a compromise. There was a hidden compromise behind. I will come to that page, that what people call the crocodile page. See, if you look at it, a lot of people told me it's a bold page, courageous page for me, but I will not. The thing is that there's no headline in this page. That small line there, in newspaper jargon, we call it a kicker, we call it a shoulder, we call it a strap line, but it's not a headline. It's one of the rare. It is not that I deliberately left it blank like some newspapers do. That so we are so shocked we don't have a headline. I think that is not a very good tactic, you know. And that you can use it only once in your lifetime. Such tactic. You can do it again. Next time you can do. I'm too shocked. I can give a headline. The thing here is, I was scared. What will you say? Because after having said all things, if you named what we meant, we can be in big trouble. But here also, obviously, we can be in trouble. But the thing is that I did not dare try any headline because I was worried that again these things will again closer to deadline thousands of doubts will assault us. So it was actually a way of playing safe. There's no headline, but people got it because there's another problem with this page. On this day, what happened? There are three very important developments. One, the Prime Minister breaking his silence because the two women were paraded naked. That video came out where they were murdered. The second was the Chief Minister of Manipur saying that hundreds of such things may have taken place. A third most important thing, the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India told the government that if you don't act, we will. It's a very important statement. Whatever the outcome, it is an important, no newspaper can ignore that. So our original layout was, we had three stories on page one. That is the PM story, the CM story, and the Supreme Court story. Again, all these things, the wisdom actually happened just 5 minutes before release, because people say that when Sachin Tendulkar takes stride, that particular, the place near the stump is the loneliest place on the planet. For us, that is not for us, the loneliest place on the planet is when just before you release the page, that last 5 minutes. You are alone, absolutely alone. Because the final decision, somebody, the news editor has to take, or the editor, or somebody has to take that decision. So when it against one person again, I would always thank that. He pointed out that, see, you are not saying who the crocodile is. There is 56 inch and all those things are there, but you can't. Then you put the Supreme Court also here. What if a BJP leader goes to court saying that they are calling the Supreme Court crocodile? These things we never used to think about it earlier. See, if you put that also, somebody could have actually gone to court and filed a case against the Telegraph saying that it's contempt of court. The court has acted and they are saying crocodile tears. And how will I defend myself? I didn't have an answer. And the problem with the legal cells everywhere is, if you ask them, they said, no, you go ahead, but you will be in jail. That is always the reply is there. So it's best not to consult legal departments on these matters. This is always the reply. No, there's no law is being broken, but you will be put in jail. Very reassuring comments. So it's best not to consult them. So what we did was, again, that is a compromise. That copy went inside. It's a blind page one copy. So it's a bad journalism, but I think good politics what we did. So we had to push that story inside. If government doesn't act, we will. And very strong comments from the Supreme Court. So this was so what I'm trying to tell you is, these are all instances of our fear. These are two instances. There are several instances like this. So whenever, what I'm trying to say is that when you feel a newspaper lost nervous, and there will always be a story behind it, it need not be. So when you feel a newspaper is very courageous, there will be another story behind it. So please think about these things. When you come across newspapers or television channels, the challenge is far, far greater, because they don't have time to think. So that's why I'm saying, so when somebody makes a mistake, please give them some allowance. The best policy is, if you make a mistake, like he said, admit it immediately, apologize without any beating about the bush. And if that much of space, I think you should also give. Don't blame news organizations for making, because we are working under heavy pressure, very limited resources. And now, like I told you earlier, so because of the gimmicks that is happening, editors fighting with, I don't know whether it's scripted or real, whatever it is, the credibility of journalism and journalists are also being eroded and undermined. When I joined the profession, I was very proud to say, I was actually not a journalist, I was a trainee. I was very proud to say that. Now in a train, I don't say I'm a journalist, because immediately I can see their eyes lighting up, whether they are not, my immediate impression, or they are thinking that those two fellows calling names each other last night, this must be another fellow. I live off, it pains me to think that they think that I am living off something like that, like a parasite, like a bloodsucker who's taking pleasure from the pain of others. So this is where I'm hinting. I will come back to, again, that controversial topic, though I do not want to, about the news click. As you know, I'm no longer, I know, so you will not know, I'm no longer associated with the day-to-day news operations of the Telegraph. I look after some other projects and stuff like that. So one of my colleagues asked me next day about the paper. So I said, I cannot, the paper is good, but I cannot say anything more, because I'm not supposed to. I'm not part of the operation. Then they asked me, what would have been your headline? So I said, I can't, my mind is blank. This is not like, I have seen Srinivasan, I've heard him in television saying, when he goes to a restaurant for a dinner, people will come to him and say, tell us one comedy, So So he said, see, I could have been, it's possible that I'm coming from a funeral and you are just coming and asking me to say. So I said, headlines are not like that. You need an atmosphere. You need a newsroom feel. You need the excitement of a newsroom. You need the tension of a newsroom. You need the pressure of a newsroom to come up with a headline, come up with a page that reflects the mood of the day, that reflects the... So that's what I'm saying. There is an element of, always an element of subjectivity in it. So when you see a presentation, when you see a television channel, when you see a website, when you see a newspaper, whichever medium, I'm not... so please pause to think that there must be a story behind this. So we should... yeah. Okay. I'll 5 minutes of that. So please give that allowance that you're saying. So, but since they asked me, and then since I had to give an interview 2 days ago where I was, in response to a question, I was very critical of some newspapers also, which later I thought maybe I'm being a bit unfair because, like I said, my own policy was not to comment on other newspapers, but that is why I told you rage comes in. I'm talking about the rage in me as a journalist. I'm not talking about the other kind of rage you come across. So then I thought that since I've talked so much about this particular topic, maybe I should do a page, and so I will. It's a very private page. I'll share the page with you. That page also has a story of compromise. When I show it to you, I'll tell you. So, one is, see, I told you one cliche, see, something very, very dramatic, very significant, very, very far-reaching happens. One device, one more thing I'll just briefly say. See, one other thing is, everybody says print is dying. I completely agree. It's a sunset industry. Completely agree. Everything is done. But as long as lasts, it has a unique advantage for every other medium. See, one thing is tactile. You can hold it in your hand, you know. It's tactile. That you don't get it you can hold a tablet in your hand, you can hold a smartphone in your hand, but not the news media, not the medium in your hand. So that is also why I feel very sad when a newspaper does not use the real estate that's available to its full potential, because somebody is holding it, and it's the most intimate moment. Nothing comes closer to you. Probably the only thing that comes closer to you is a lover. You think about it. You holding newspaper. Which other object or person or anything comes more closer? So if you don't use it to with the maximum potential possible, I think you are compromised. And this must be your last hurrah, your last salute to every day when you bring out you don't know how long this is going to last, how long print is going to last, how long journalism is going to last. As some people say journalism also died in 2014, but whatever little life is, so that is why it becomes very important. Every single day is very, very important. Please remember, somebody is going to hold it tomorrow. It's like a baby. Somebody is going to hold it. Treat it with that respect. So what I'm going to say that when you hold it, there are several devices in the newspaper. One is something very important, and something you want to shock the reader. One device used to be you bring the masthead down and put the big story above the masthead. We have done only once in our. We are a very young paper. We are only 40 years old. Once only we have done that when Mamata Banerjee defeated this 33-year-old left government, because that was a game-changing event. That's the only time we have done it, I think. In my career, that was the only time we have done it. Another option is in emergency, as a protest, as a sign of protest, you can leave pages blank. But that is it's a cliche. So if you do it, then you have to add some X factor to it. That I'll come to it. So when I said this to some of my friends in journalism who know production and other things, but they told me that they misunderstood me, and they thought that what I'm suggesting is that there is a new thing in the newspapers. You must be aware that I think it's called the jacket ad. We call it cover on cover, because the first page it's a full page ad. So they thought that what I'm saying is that on such days you should not carry that. No, that is not what I'm saying. I know how important advertisement is. I know more than anyone else how important it is, because salaries have to be paid every month. Newsprint has to be bought. The industry is going through a very, very, very bad crisis. I'm not saying to sacrifice any ads. Let that be there, because if we look at newspaper history, the original newspaper, the front page was always reserved for ads. The front page is always ads. May not be one ad, but it will be full ad. Only from the second paper the news used to start. Otherwise, so I have no problem at all in newspapers carrying as many advertisements as possible, because economic freedom is the most. Without economic freedom, you can't have political freedom. you can't have a free newspaper if you don't have, in fact, I will argue that a big newspaper should not take a single ad from the government. Because if you take an ad from the government, how will you criticize the government? So I have gone to that extent. But I'm also saying that ads are unnecessary. What I'm saying is that forget the ad, whatever the editorial space, however little, even if it's a half page, you saw that 2023 page, there's a big ad there. See, there's a big ad on the side, but still, so ad size can never be a problem. And I did not mean to throw away, because earlier I have seen editors in the early 1990s, I have seen editors bragging that I threw away the ad. I today threw away ad worth 2 lakh cover, I just threw it away. I told the management, they used to show their independence like that. I do not mean that at all, because it's stupidity to throw out income earning ad. What I meant was, whatever little space you have, whether it is little, large, big or something, use it to the maximum potential. So that brings to, so people ask me, some of my friends ask me what I would have done. See, I'm not saying that what I'm going to show is the only thing that can be done or the best thing that can be done. It is just, again, a conversation. I'm just asking you to think, when something big like this happens, if you don't see something, a newspaper reflecting it so big or trying to put some happy news on top of it, you think about it. Maybe they're doing it unwittingly, but what I'm saying that it dilutes it. It is, you are misusing that. You see, you're holding a baby, on top of the baby you put for me it's like you on top of the baby you put pornography, you know. How can you do that? You can't do that. So so what I would say, when I'm going with a cliche, then I will show you another what I thought I will do. And one, I think that's one thing I would have done, and I would have, if it's a blank page, but there's a small X factor I need. I used the News Clicks logo, and therefore today's News Click here, so I'm leaving it blank. Then you turn the page, or if it's an online this thing, you click there, then you can enter something like this. This is what I would have said. News is neutered today. You know, then editor arrested device of 46. I would have taken, actually 46 is wrong. It's much more than 40, but 46 is confirmed. They cannot file a case against me for saying this. And then I would have put all the names of and I will not put their pictures, but I will put cell phones, because smartphones, because these cell phones are people. They are flesh and blood. That's what I'm saying each other. These are not 46 machines, but the flesh and blood and the very extension of the mind and soul of a 46 fellow citizen. Because this is what this doesn't say that News Click is innocent, government is wrong, government is right, investment was right, that board cleared it. I'm not going into all those because I don't know what the new information. On the basis of available confirmed information, this is what I thought it was very important. And before I just end in a minute, there is a compromise. I was telling Nitish last night. You see, there is no mustard in this page. My original mustard was, I was playing on yours. I thought it's there actually. It's not that it's behind. It was actually Scared Facts. You know, instead of Sacred Facts, I thought I will use Scared Facts. I got it done also. Then I realized that while I was sitting, actually when I was having dinner last night, suddenly I realized that there is a government rule that you can't print anything that resembling a newspaper without registering with RNI. And this government, in this time, it is quite possible that I will get a show cause notice from one of the agencies asking, where is your RNA registration for a paper called Scared Facts? You know, it's very really possible. So I went back, and I'm not much tech savvy. So what I did was, my son actually helped me do all these things from Haryana. Then what I did, it was around 12 o'clock by then, I didn't want to wake him. I used a whitener and then rubbed off that mustard, you know. So that's why if you carefully look, you can make out there are some shapes behind it. So this is where, this is the fear that I wanted to talk to you about. I was not making up, I just showed you this visuals. It is not for self-aggrandizement or self-promotion, because my career is as good as over. I don't more have to do this. What I want to tell you that I was not exaggerating. I wanted to show you hard, real examples, this thing. Very few people will do that. I can afford to do that in my current position. That's why I did that. Thank you very much.
Before we move on, do we have any questions for Sir? There are mics on both sides, yes.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
I am Rajil. I am from Kannur.
Yeah.
I am not a journalist, but I am I am observed journalism field and my interested areas in journalism is there. I have already done many publications there. Will legislation aims to combat false information or internet damages be effective if it makes politicians or any other persons calling them as a journalist?
So, sorry, can you tell,
Will legislation aim to combat false information or any other internet damages be effective makes politicians or any other persons calling them as a journalist?
Okay.
Yeah, legislation.
എന്താ വെങ്കടേഷ്?
Legislation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Legislation.
Public false news.
Yeah.
Oh, source. Oh, okay. Oh, no, but this is a we don't have a law of protecting sources in India. Okay. There's no law now. You don't have to bring a law. You can be arrested and asked. It's only ethically you can refuse to say, but there's no protection. Source protection, it's only in America. Even America, it's not. Some states have started lifting it now. In India, we don't have source protection. Right now, they don't have to bring a law. That's why I'm saying we are imperfect. We are an imperfect democracy as far as freedom of expression. We have a lot of problems. In fact, our First Amendment in America was to uphold the freedom of journalism. The First Amendment in India, which was done by Nehru, was actually controlling the press media freedom. So that's why you should make people aware of all these things. We are completely imperfect as far as freedom of expression is confirmed. We have miles to go.
So ruling parties always control journalists. That's all the time is there. Because in the central minister, many of the journalists criticize in many way. Also in the Kerala ruling party, also this in way in the like Asian news or any other field. So majority of the ruling party always control journalism because they are not interested to true fact. But sometimes lack of truth is in the journalism field also. In the UPA ruling time, many of the journalists reported 2G scam is there. Nowadays, Supreme Court decided that 2G scam there is not any evidence is not there. So Supreme Court that 2G scam is abandoned at this time. Also, solar case. Many of the journalists report that solar crime is there, but nowadays court decide that there is not any evidence is there. So lack of truth is always there in the journalism field also. That's my opinion.
Yeah, obviously. See, we are not angels. No. Nobody said that we are angels. We make mistakes. So that's why I said when you make mistake, like there's a difference between fake news and bona fide mistake. Like I can make a mistake. I didn't know. I can actually make a mistake. But then, like Shreyam sir said, you immediately apologize and correct it. But if you don't do that, then you look like you deliberately did it. That's when, and also you spread fake news knowingly. It's fake. Then and all the other answers are then your question only. How can if some it's a wrong news, then it's a wrong news. You have to apologize or. But don't expect. That's what I said. Don't expect media to be so you also have to fight for the media. So why did you see these channels when they showed all these things, solar, all these scandals? It is because people saw that it. Otherwise, nobody saw it. I'm sure it will not would have gained this kind of traction. People liked it at that time. So.
Good morning. I am Sri Prakash Vattapalam. My question is, what lesson we get from the Netflix incident?
Newsclick.
Newsclick incident. What lesson we get? Then, can a newspaper give wrong information about the court decision? That's it. Two questions also.
Court
decisions. Can a newspaper give wrong impression, wrong news about the court decision, court judgment?
If you give wrong, second question.
No. Any newspaper can give wrong reporting about the court judgments. That's the two questions.
Second question is easy to answer. I'll do that first. If you give wrong report to court, there will be contempt of court. No, you have to pay a price for that. That should be like that. I don't have any problem with that. First question was Newsclick. See, Newsclick, the other lessons we don't know about investment. Other thing, it will take years for. I'm sure that the first lesson is you read the FIR. Some of the things they have said there, like say you have facilitated the blocking of essential goods and service means you cannot basically report even a normal agitation. Then you will be accused of the way journalism is. It's a very the FIR is a statement on how you cannot conduct normal journalism in this country. Because anything you do, and plus if you exchange emails with let's say there is a foreign academic, you want to get some information, it's an authority on some subject. You are sending emails to him. Obviously, in emails you may make some uncharitable comment about the prime. It's quite possible about our people who govern us and possible. And later it turns we don't know it. We are dealing with a person because of his subject knowledge, domain knowledge. Later it may turn out that he is linked to some organization that is banned in India or something like that. How can you hold the journalists always had the privilege of this meeting people, speaking to people, source information. It was never considered a crime, but now they are saying that you have sent an email to this person, you spoke to this person, you were seen having coffee with that person. So this is that is why I've said it's a very serious threat, and I don't see that kind of awareness or acknowledgement rather. I'm sure people are aware. There's no by focusing on this Asiad and cricket matches and all that. What journalism is doing, we are digging our own grave. We should only focus on this. Is the most important thing that has happened I think in this year. Definitely this year, maybe since 2000. This FIR you should read. It's shocking. Every sentence was worth a story. Every sentence is worth a full page story. I'm saying every sentence in that FIR. You can spin stories out of it, but I don't see that happening because people are either they're scared or they don't want to do it or they don't want to admit it. My problem, that is why I get angry about this.
Thank you. One more question, sir. Why the Indian Railways not allowed to sell newspapers in the railway station, in the railway platform? That's all.
But they are giving it inside Vande Bharat, no? Even in the evening they are giving newspapers. Railway, I don't know. There must be some issue with booksellers, I suppose. I don't know.
That is banned.
I don't know the reason.
Yes, that's banned.
Okay, I'll find out.
No railway platform will get a newspaper.
Because my basic thing is we should not depend on the government for anything. So if it's banned, let's be banned. That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir. You spoke regarding the headline, which was very iconic, that crocodile tears. So there wasn't a direct, mention of what you wanted to express to the audience, but there was a similar headline from Telegraph. I think it was during the G20 event. So there was I think it was around September 25th. So this headline. I think the cover page article or the content what we saw was, leaders, they are gathering at Rajghat and they are conversing with each other, a comical kind of, it was kind of, appropriating what these leaders were trying to express. Do you think that will create problems? You were, a front page of a newspaper. Can it be comical or can it be? It should be a hard news kind of.
Oh, you are saying about how right it was to do something like that. No, I thought you were asking whether it was the correct. So first let me spoke all the thought bubbles. Thought bubbles. The thought bubbles actually, if you read carefully, it's all based on facts. So nobody can deny what went inside the content.
But do you think?
I know. I'll answer you. I got your. Yeah. See, this is a big issue, very serious issue. We have readers, editors, owners, everybody, the newspaper, entire stakeholders. We have certain set expectations from a newspaper that certain amount of news has to be said, what kind of news should be said. So everybody has these expectations. But sometimes, so I got your point. Was it right to waste that space, that precious space for this kind of frivolous thought bubbles? See, the thing is that. Let's say political cartooning. Why is political cartooning become important? Political cartooning becomes important because political cartooning has a space and the flexibility to say things that you normally cannot say. So there, that was that particular. If you look at the content of the thought bubbles, I wish I could see show the page. I don't have the page with me. The content of the they're quite if I put it without the thought bubbles, it can be really libelous and defamatory. But that was a device we chose to escape. Like again, these are all compromises. So you can naturally ask. I did not pay to get a newspaper that doesn't give me news, but give all these things. So that is the reader's definition. So what I'm saying is, I'm doing here. I may get some people may forward in some people in groups, in WhatsApp groups in Kerala, Facebook, and all that. But I can tell you, our readers are not all. Our readers are not all. Many of our readers are unhappy with what we are doing. So, but that often, when I get to speak to them, I also realize that it's because of people are unwilling to. Because newspaper is a habit. You have to be very, very careful playing with habits. But I think, again, my answer for all these things is we live in extraordinary times and you need to have extraordinary responses. If it takes a thought bubble to say a thing that I cannot say in a normal news column, I will use the thought bubble. So that is one. So I'm not saying I'm right, but the thing is that we did a lot of thought went into it before we decided to do something, because I was absolutely sure that there's no other way we could say it. If you said it, the paper could be shut down. So that is why this I don't think any court will happen, because it's based on facts, and if you go back and you can read it again and see. Those things we cannot say in public, Because Rajghat, what happened was, the day the G20 leaders came to Rajghat, just 24 hours earlier, Narendra Modi was making what is it guy's name? The man who allegedly ordered the murder of Khashoggi, Salman, Prince Salman and Biden. Biden did not dare shake his hands in Saudi Arabia. Biden did not dare shake his own country. But here there is a Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy, making the world's most powerful democracy shake hands with a person who allegedly ordered a hit on a journalist, and it happened in India, and next day they're all standing. Salman was not there, I think. Next day, Biden, everybody standing before Mahatma Gandhi, this thing, and Raghupati Raghava Raja. How more ridiculous can it be? And the problem is I cannot report it, so I have to go to take recourse to these thought bubbles and stuff like that. What to do?
Hi, sir. I'm a sports journalist, a football journalist, in my age of 16. I'm very proud of it. I was been trying for it for at least 12 years. So in India, I was not able to do so, and I tried another way. My question is simple: if it's not applicable in India, why not try it from foreign countries? I found a website that upload content from Saudi Arabia, which is running under Indian originals. So I agree to your statement, we are not angels, but we need solutions and not complaints. So the complaints that don't work.
Sorry, what is the question? Huh? Oh, okay. You are free to make. I accept. You said something about the Saudi Arabia newspaper. What is it?
Yes, I got an opportunity to showcase my creative writing ability in a website which is run under the Saudi Arabian government. So it's named footytimes.com. It's a football journalism channel, and they are clearly opposing the Indian.
Okay. Okay. And I understood. Yeah. Foreign paper, they do it better than us, I think. Yeah, I got your point. I agree with you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
My name is Tasneem. I'm from Mathrubhumi Media School. My question is, how is journalism different from social activism?
I don't have any ready answer. See, journalism at the end of the day, I don't know what social activism is, so I can't come. I'll explain. Journalism is, there's a very, very simple, and you must have learned in your school. What do you think is journalism, according to you? What is journalism?
Yeah, journalism is like bringing up new things which, public na എഫക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം കൊണ്ടുവരിക.
Fine.
പിന്നെ അതൊക്കെയാണ് ജേർണലിസം അക്കോർഡിംഗ് ടു മീ.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You're right also. So there is a simple way. What you said is absolutely right. And what you said, people who came before us, journalists, there is a simple way of putting it. They basically it's you comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. That is what you said. That is journalism. So in activism, usually I think they do the half of the part. I think, or at least that's what I have seen. That they comfort the afflicted. Whereas in journalism, you can also afflict the comfortable. That is the key difference. So that role we are giving up now. That is my problem is that we are not only not comforting the afflicted, we are refusing to afflict the comfortable also. On both counts we are failing, and we are making a society, we are brainwashing a society into this, Chandrayaan, Vande Bharat, Asiad 100+ medal. These are the issues that we are preoccupied with, or we celebrate deaths as if the heavens have fallen, whereas we forget the living people. There's a problem with that. That is not journalism. That is not activism. That's nothing. I don't know what to call it. That is Hitler's tomato and chocolate journalism.
I think, sorry sir, we have a long day to go ahead and we have lots of speakers coming.
You can ask me. I'm here. You can ask me in the lobby.
Is that okay? If it's